Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle again, and we're going back in time now. This one will be fun. A lot of you have heard that I pick up reels just to find out what the reels do and how they're made. That's this one. I'm going to be doing a beachcomber. It looks like one out of the 40s, maybe 50s, very early technology. I just thought I would share the technology with you. Take it apart, show you a little bit about it, lube it up. It's certainly capable of going fishing, or whether anybody would fish it today is questionable, right? So this is a beachcomber. It's made by the Airex Corporation. It was a division of the Lionel Corporation, and I believe it's the same Lionel Corporation that made the Lionel trains. So we'll see. We'll take this apart, and I'll show you how that works. So I'm going to start this a little bit different this time. I'm going to take the spool off just to show you a unique feature that's kind of common in the older reels, and that is it's the drag system. So it's not the conventional drags that we see in today's modern reels with the layers, with the metal and the fabric washers. Rather, it's a rubber grommet, and it sits on the spool shaft. It compresses when you press down on the drag knob. It compresses and puts pressure against the inside of the spool as a way to tighten the spool down and operate the drag effectively. And this one still works today. So just thought I would share that with you as we go through the reel. We'll just look at some of the technologies here. Again, sometimes simpler is easier. As we look into this, the bail wire, when you flip it, just simply catches a roller on the side of the handle here, rides up the roller and flips it over. So it's not even the clunker from the pen reels where you slam it, or the older Daiwa 7000s. It's simply a little wire riding on a track, a little roller, and as it comes up it turns it over. So great design features to that. Okay, so let's go inside and show you what the reel is about. I'm going to take the handle off. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get the main drags off or not, the main gear out. We'll see. This one has two little lock washers on the inside of this one. That's to put the pressure on the handle to keep it locked. And I'm going to believe that this is a through gear, as most of these were. When we come to this side, there's two screws. I'm going to take those little set screws out, and that should be all that's holding the side plate on. And then we'll have a look at the gearing inside here and show you a little bit about the feature function of the reel. So I like to say these are tuitions. The price you pay for these things are just a couple of dollars. It's a learning experience. This one's probably collectible, although I don't collect reels, and it could be fished, but usually isn't. All right, so inside we have a big main drive. This is unique. Inside the main drive now we have a circle path, which is offset, so it's going to drive the spool up and down, the spool. It's held in by a little drive pin here, and the drive pin kind of looks like a dumbbell. If we can, there we go, we can rotate that little dumbbell. So this one's riding in that, the other's riding in the channel behind on the side plate. And as that offset moves up and down, when you turn the reel, the spool goes up and down as well. So let's take that little pin out of there. It should be a through pin. There you go. It's a through pin with a little cap that rides in that channel as such. And before we go too much further, notice a couple of different things here. One of them is it's a reel that's not commonly worked on. You probably won't find schematics. I'm sure you won't find parts for it unless you find a donor reel. So take pictures and take care with the parts that you pull out. The second thing here is the size of the pin is different. This one is smaller in length than this one is. This one came out of the channel. So make sure that as you're doing this that you're aware which side goes where. The other thing I guess it's easy enough to note is that this is the through pin, and then it narrows so that you can put that little extra part of that dumbbell or pin back in. So keep track of how these come out. If you haven't worked on them, take pictures. The pictures are easy enough to do. Okay, let's go see if we can take this off now. Again, here's another one. This spins, and if you notice, when you get to a certain point, you can find the two screws that hold the rotor on. So we're going to loosen those screws up. We should be able to pull the Well, actually, we can pull the shaft out right now because the only thing holding that in was the pin. Here's your shaft with your compression sleeve, your little grommet that features your drag. Now let's go back over and take those two screws. We can loosen them up and we can take the whole rotor assembly off. And sometimes I just like to buy a reel like this. It was less than $10. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it wasn't much. And I call it a tuition. Just let's see how they made these things back in the day. There you go. And then I also like to look while I have this. This is the feature that is the cast spool for the bail, and simply it's a little tension spring. It's held on both sides, and you can see that the tension spring holds the back end of the bail in place. Okay, we took that off. There you go. So there's your pinion gear. Those are the two little screws that we removed. It's set in a little piece of plastic. I imagine you can pull that pinion gear out if you continue to move those screws, but for the purpose of this, not important. The only lubrication going on in this is a little bit of lubrication on that little spring there. So why don't we follow what they did all those years ago and put a little bit of blue grease on that. Again, the purpose of this is more to just see what's going on mechanically than it is to go fix the reel. But heck, the reel was turning, so why not just put a little blue grease in there, put it in that channel, and that should serve fine should it ever want to go fishing again. Okay, so that's all there is to that. We would put some blue grease, of course, on the back of the pinion gear here. Let's go ahead and do that while we're at it. Then we can set that aside. You're noticing I'm using a parts bucket. That's one thing. Old reels you can't find parts for, don't lose them. So what I do is I put them in a little parts bucket. My parts bucket is just the back of a milk jug. And I've got several of them along the way here in case I need more. And I'm just going to go put that up in that one. Let's go back here. We've got the screw here that holds the shaft. Let's go take that out. And that'll give us access to the main gear. Let's just see if we can poke this main gear through. We can. So we'll just make sure it's nice and clean. It looks that way. Here's your anti-reverse dog and spring. We'll just go put a little drop of oil on that. I'm going to use a Airex oil. I like it. It's designed for fishing reels, and it's served me well over time. So if you use anybody's oils, that's fine. Just make sure that it's an oil or a blue grease designed for fishing reels. Here's your back. That's the click for your anti-reverse. And here's your shaft, and it's a nice high quality piece that was milled. I don't know if this is stainless or some other alloy, but it's a nice one. I'm just going to put some blue grease on there. And we're going to go ahead and put that right back in the holder. And then on this side here, this is clean, right? So we're just going to put a little bit of blue grease in those channels. I already put some blue grease on the pinion gear. I'll just throw a couple of pieces here. Get a couple of teeth. It'll work its way in as it gets cranked. That should be fine. Okay, and then I'm going to grab the bottom screw that holds the shaft. Put that back in. And I imagine myself when I pick up a reel like this, just reverting the history, just thinking who may have had this, how it may have been fished, what kind of fish might have been landed with it. It's just a piece of living history, and I kind of enjoy it just for that reason alone. And I like to think I'm preserving it somewhere to be passed along at some point to somebody else. So that's kind of the reason why I take these old reels in from swap meets and things and just see if I can't make a go of it. Okay, so we got another high quality piece here. I showed you already the function of the drag up top. Just a little bit of blue grease on that one. Slide that back in. Slide that into the reel seat. Now we come over here to where that dumbbell pin was. We're going to remember that the small piece went to the bottom. Go ahead and put that in. And we're going to make sure that we have the bottom pin in. And we're just going to go line that up with the channel. Okay, and then we're going to just reassemble a side plate. Here's the channel that that other piece belongs to, so when you go to put this in, you just kind of slide it up so that you're in the groove. Set that back on there. Put the two side plate screws in. So easy one to maintain, right? And that's probably why this one survived. It's high quality materials, it's simplicity in design, and it's easy to maintain. So the only thing I found on this one as I purchased it was I had linen line on there, which means it hadn't been used in quite some time. That linen line was not washed. It had been used in a salt water because it had a lot of salt that had accumulated on it, and that just built up as the line dried out. It built up on the spool. I did a fairly good job of scraping it, but you can still see that there's a lot of residual salt in there, and maybe at some point I'll just go back and I'll try and buff that up or something. But for the purposes of illustration today, I don't have the time, and we're not going to do that. Okay, so then we just kind of work our way back onto that rubber grommet there, seat that, go throw the drag knob back on, and we're just going to tighten it down, make sure it works. There you go. Back it off, works, tighten it up. But, you know, very efficient system for the day. Okay, the two little set screws go on, or lock washers. I'm not sure if these are original to the reel. I haven't quite seen them like that, but it's here now, so I'm going to go ahead and put that back on. Turn the handle. We've locked in, and we're rolling. There you go. Okay, so that's the reel. So an Airex, it's a beachcomber, probably from the 40s, and seems to be doing just fine. Thank you very much. All right. I hope that that's been educational to you. I hope it's encouraged you that as you find these older reels sitting around in the yard sales, tag sales, flea markets, what have you, that you go do something to explore the work out there and see if you can't take it apart and learn from the construction and manufacture of that. So if you like this video, please indicate that on YouTube. If you want to see more, please subscribe. Again, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Thank you for watching.